All right. Everyone should be able to hear us right now. This is Will Griffith with Alliance Solutions Group, and I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for joining us this morning to review the best-in-class Sage estimating system. Today, we're going to be reviewing Sage estimating, eTakeoff, and then we will also bridge into Navisworks to a degree as well. So we're going to have a full coverage of the overall estimating suite that Sage offers. To get started, I wanted to kind of breeze through a couple housekeeping items. Um, so all attendees' lines will be muted for a clean listening experience throughout the webinar, and that way we can be able to provide you a recording as well. We do have a questions section. If you do have any questions, feel free to input those. We'd be happy to answer those at the end of the webinar today, and we're happy to address those questions outside of the webinar as well. And for visual, it's best to maximize your screen so that you can see everything that we do cover. So with that, we'll just move on to the next slide. The key presentation goals for today are to cover seamless integration with Sage Estimating, eTakeoff, as well as Navisworks as well. And the goal there is to be able to provide you an overall integrated experience with your estimating solution and overall integrated platform as a goal. Also, we would like to provide you maximum efficiency through Sage Estimating and the eTakeoff platforms. The goal is to be able to save you 4 hours per every bid that you may be working on. If you think about some of the items that you may have to work through and cause you time delays, our goal with Sage Estimating is overall to provide you the efficiency that you need to be able to get your bids out faster and more accurate. And with that, provide you overall 25 to 50% increase in productivity. It's a easy to use interface, spreadsheet-like interface. So many of you may be familiar with Excel, the big green monster, and the goal is to be able to provide you a solution that's not going to break your traditional concept of what an estimating solution is, but provide you a more streamlined, effective process overall within Sage Estimating. And workflow flexibility. We offer you multiple different methods of takeoff from within Sage Estimating through eTakeoff, and then ultimately as well from Navisworks and BIM modeling as well. So we'll breeze through all of those items and provide you some context on every component there. With that, I'll turn things over to Darren Pierce with Sage to go through the solution as a whole, and everyone else, feel free to enjoy, ask questions as they do come up. Darren, all yours.
All right, thanks a lot, Will, and good morning, everyone. Hope you are having a great Tuesday morning. And we'll jump into the estimating solution kind of as Will talked about. And we'll start really with the way your business or way jobs typically start for you is, of course, an invitation to bid, or here comes the plans, right? So let's quantify, let's get the quantities off the plan. So we are going to be starting in a takeoff, and then we'll have our workflow move into the estimating system. We'll do a few things of takeoff within there, and then kind of move on from there to some different estimating capabilities that are within the system. We'll mention Navisworks. We have an integration there, and then also model estimating. So let's dive in. First of all, let's get you familiar with the product. It is eTakeoff, and it gives you the capability, of course, to see all your plans on digitally rather than paper plans. Now, a couple things to mention: multi-user environment. So if you have multiple individuals within your estimating department, we can all attack the same plan set very quickly, very easily. And as we look at it, my suggestion for you, 30 to 36 inch monitor is your main monitor, and then 2 bookend monitors that are a little bit smaller so that you can take advantage of flyaway windows. As we drill in here, we can zoom in, we can zoom out. We're using a mouse that gives us the capability to scroll in and view wherever the mouse goes. So does the capability to zoom in on that particular area. As we look at the panels on the side here, we've got some capabilities within each panel, and these are called widgets. And when we look at this, there's a lot of functionality that we can look at within the system. Now, we're going to cover a few of these, but we're not going to get into every one. So if there's any questions that you have on these, let us know. One I will mention too and talk about is filtering. So if you are that company that has multiple estimators and you want to filter by each individual doing their takeoff within the system, you can do it. We can make it very easy for you to do. So I want to draw your attention down to the lower area right here. Here's the complete plan set. We have over 100 pages in this plan set. This solution reads PDFs in their native format. So with that being said, there is no conversion to a TIFF file. It will read these in the format that you receive them in, and it will load that 100 pages up in roughly about 30 seconds, no problem. So with that being said, saving you time right out of the gate working with our solution. Up here is what we call our trace library. And really, when you think about it, it is a digital marker. All it is going out and digitally marking the plans where you've been, where you're going. Back in the day when I used to be over the top of paper plans, ruler in one hand and a marker in the other. I'd go through and mark where I've been, what I've done, just so I wouldn't miss anything. This is just a library of digital markers that we have here. So let's take a look at a few things on the ribbon, and then we'll start doing some takeoff. First of all, we want to get you up and running as quick as possible. So everywhere you go, wherever you hover, it's going to give you help. It's going to say, this is what it does. These are the shortcut keys that we have within the system. By the way, those can be customized to each individual within your organization. So those keys on the keyboard can be shortcut keys that you define how you want them. So we look over here, we've got, of course, a scale. Got to know the scale. We give you the capability to do imperial, or we give you the capability to do metric. Now, here's the thing is we always want to be able to calibrate the scale. We want to make sure that the scale, the architect or whoever gave us the plans is accurate. So distance between two known points, and we can calibrate that scale for you. As we move over here, we're going to look at view because it's important to be able to see lots of information. So what we want to do is give you the capability to see as many windows or as many pages at one time as you want. Lots of ways to navigate the system, but as you can see, here's my main screen back here. Now we can zoom in. Here's where those additional windows come into play. I can drag and drop this on my other monitor, and we're good to go. We can make any notations, red lines, whatever you're looking at, and we can quickly get from one page to the next. So drop down menu here, or we can just very quickly go to those defined particular pages we set up. Let's take it to the next step and let's get rid of that extra page. Now we're zooming in on this area right here. One of the things that this solution does that no other solution will is gives you the capability to have multiple detailed scales on one page. In this case, in this border right here, it's a 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Down here, 6 inches equals 1 foot. But the overall scale right here is 1/2 inch equals a foot. You can have as many scales on one page as you want. Some other solutions make you copy a page, name it by another scale. Pretty soon you've got like 5 pages that represent the same page because of a lack of capability of that solution. So as we drill in here, we're going to zoom in this particular area right here, and we're going to do an overlay. We want to be able to compare that revision to what we've already taken off. And as you can see, if we drill in even further, red is old, blue is new. We're going to take that countertop out a little bit. We're going to turn the stove top and make it work for us. Now, one thing about this takeoff here is I've already sent it to the estimate, generated an estimate from it. Well, I'm going to make some changes here. I'm going to edit this guy real quickly based upon the changes that we've seen here. And then I'll change the naming of this to changed in presentation. I'll just say pres for short. I can only do 30 words per minute. That's the best I ever did in typing, so I don't want to bore you with a lot of typing as we go through the process here. So let's navigate out and start doing some takeoff. So as you can see, a lot of ways to navigate with the system, hyperlinks and all sorts of fun things that we can do here. So let's do a quick takeoff. Let's do an area, and with generic takeoff right out of the system, we have the capability to do perimeter, length, and also area when we're doing that. So I have a point, length, and perimeter area count. If you're a unit price contractor, that may be all you need. I just need that area, and then I'll put a dollar per square foot, that type of thing. But we do want to give you some functionality above that. So with that being said, if I drill in here and I want to back this guy out, by the way, in the next iteration of this solution, we're going to be seeing the capability just to hit this line, and it will take off that entire line for us. So just so you know, and that is coming in the very near future. So in this case right here, in that pool area, it might have been stamped concrete, it might have been paver stones, whatever it is for your company. But we back that pool out because we know it's going to be a different material. Well, in this case right here, we want to define what that's going to be really quickly. And let's call it concrete. So boom, done. We've just taken off that area as you expected, filled in completely, specific to that line. Now, you'll notice a couple things here. Well, first of all, you've got an E. Now, this E is a protection, a safety layer for you to make sure you do not miss anything. Matter of fact, if I go into our summary right here, I'm going to see that E. Let's say you're in review mode and you want to see, want to make sure you don't want to miss anything. So we'll be able to see that. By the way, I've got this sorted by the people that have been working on this particular plan. So you can see the estimators within here. A lot of flexibility we can do with the solution in here, but I just wanted to show you, even in review mode, we're going to give you an alert that we need to fill in more information. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's fill in some info. So now you look, and here are what we call variables. For those of you that have used our estimating or worked with our estimating, used to be Timberline. I come from back in the DOS days, believe it or not. Well, believe it, if you saw me, you would believe it. My face shows the age. But when we look at this, we've got depth of gravel, depth of sand, those variables defined by the concrete. So whatever your business does, we can define these variables specific to what that would be for you. So in this case, I'm going to say 4 inches, 4 inches. What's the PSI of the concrete? Well, we'll say 4,000 PSI. So again, whatever those questions may be for your company, we can achieve those. I'll say okay to that, and we'll do one more, give you a little bit of a different look at what the takeoff would be here. Let's do wall framing, and let's just quickly take off this wall. Same thing, same E as you'd expect, different questions because it is a wall, right? It's an interior wall. So what's the stud spacing? What's the stud size? So you have that capability there. The number of corners, we'll put 3. And then if we did drywall, we could enter that information, that detail as well. So just wanted to give you a different example of what those variables are like. Now, one thing to keep in mind is as we see this flow over into the estimating, every one of these answers will flow over. So I'm not just taking one item or one quantity, should I say, I'm taking them all. So let's look at a couple other things within the system. Well, first of all, you may want to put some stamps out here. You want to have some automation, maybe some clouds that you want to have available to you that you use over and over and over again for every project that you do. Well, we've got that covered with global favorites. So we don't have to create them over and over again. They're there for us. When it comes to takeoff, maybe we've done this whole takeoff on another floor. Well, now we want to make it very easy for you to set it up as a project favorite specific to this project. I've taken off this whole floor, but in this case right here, I may need to make a change to the individual takeoffs as well, which we give you the capability to do. So for this, I'm going to name this floor in Pres or PRS. Short, I'm getting even shorter as we go through the typing right here. Now, let's go over here and navigate to plumbing. Let's say I'm a plumber and I'm looking at the fire suppression that we're going to be working on here. And we've got these sprinkler heads. Well, I don't want to go through and click, click, click. Well, in our advanced mode, advanced solution, you can go through and check these particular things off manually. Or what we can do in our Premier solution is just say, hey, go find these for me. Let's have the solution do the heavy lifting for us. Makes it very easy to do. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and say this is a sprinkler head. And based upon the light to dark, and let's tighten this up a little bit right there, just so we get all of the ones that we want to find. Now it's going to go out based upon 75% of the ratio from dark to light. Say, okay. So it's going to go search for me. And basically in seconds, we've got all of those particular heads that we're looking for. So in this case right here, there may be some that we may think, oh, this isn't one, so on and so forth. Now we can purge those, purges on selected if we want to, just by clicking that. Or we can go through the process of looking at, you may need further review. So I'm going to go to the drawing, and now I can see those ones that need some inspection there. They're kind of darkened right there, and I'll say those are good. We may need to change that guy because he looks right to me. So giving you the capability to review it right on the page makes it very quick, makes it very easy for you to do. So with that being said, I think we're ready to go ahead and count them. Now, with this, I've got 2 unmarked ones. So think about when you're looking at doing counting, and you sometimes will come up with things that are like items. You still need to count them, but they aren't the ones you were looking for. Well, what we can do is we can save and continue, and now we've left these 2 behind, and we'll say, oh, those are the sprinkler head 2, save. So now we've done that. We've gone through and we've counted all of those particular items right there, but we have more pages where those exist. Let's very quickly go ahead, search. And now when you're looking at this, and this is based upon the size of your computer and the number of cores that you have, if you have 10 cores or 8 cores, then that means what you're going to be able to do is count 7 pages at one time. And there we leave an extra core for you to do takeoff while the machine is doing the heavy lifting and doing the counting for you. So in this case right here, I select those, it goes out and search, and it'll find all of those particular heads for me. In this case right here, I'm going to call these sprinkler head in pres. So now what we want to do is we've gone through the process of doing the takeoff. Well, we want to automate the process of generating an estimate. So with that being said, now we've got all of these items that we've taken off. You can see floor 1, sprinkler head 2, sprinkler head 1. I called this sprinkler head in pres, so on and so forth. Now, here's the thing, and this is in line with what I talked about. We have multiple people going in and doing takeoff for this particular presentation. So, well, for this presentation, but that's what the product will do for you, right? So we have multiple individuals. We could just take off everything that I've done and leave what Bob's done behind if we wanted to. It's up to us. But in this case right here, we'll send everything over to the estimate. By the way, anything that's been taken off and you go over here to the product, it hides it for you. So you know that it's been taken off. If there's anything remaining there, then you know that that hasn't been sent to the estimate. Now, as we get into review mode, remember the change I made to this guy right here? Well, the system has alerted me to the fact that that change has been made, so I can update the estimate. It went from this to this. So with the click of a button, now I can update the estimate. One more thing, and then we'll jump into the estimate. And this I'm sure happens to quite a few of you out there where maybe a change of a specification happens. So we'll go over into our foundations here. And based upon these foundations that we've taken off already, well, we find out the PSI concrete needs to be changed. Well, in this case right here, I can go through, I can mark them off, I can right click, and now you see a list of all of those variables I filled in right there. Well, if you need to make a change to one of them, we could say change this from 6,000 to 3,000, whatever you want to do. But let's take it a step further. Maybe this slab, this takeoff, exists on multiple pages. So I want one central area, and by the way, 3,000 to 7,000. I want to be able to change them in one spot. Let's just say 4,000 for all of those, and let's apply that. So we're good to go. Now, if you look at these guys right here, change to 4,000. Now, last but not least, we go over into our bridge and we say, okay, let's look at the review and update it. Well, now we've got all of those slabs that we've changed. Now we just need to update them to the estimate. And of course, Navisworks, I did this during a presentation there, notes in Prez. And we'll just change that one to, what is today? Today is the 21st. We'll say okay. So all that's going to flow over to the estimate. Let's go look at the estimate real quick. So now we've got my presentation estimate here. And for those of you that work with the system, great. You know we can combine all those items, that we have the capability to see all that. I've got it broken out in different looks, different feels, different colors. If you don't like colors on your spreadsheet, you don't have to have them there. One thing I will mention, and this is for the people that aren't using our system or aren't aware of the capabilities. Usually, most of our customers come from an Excel background, right? So when we look at this, I just want to show you that when we type into every one of these fields, which is going to have an impact on the labor, productivity, labor cost per unit, any one of these fields here, yeah, I'll go ahead and say yes to that. Or I can go ahead into this guy right here. There is in Excel sometimes the worry that we may overwrite a formula, break a link. Well, within our system, everything like that happens in the background. So you can type into every one of these fields and not have to worry, stress about if I missed something there. So make it very easy for you to look at that. Now, the other thing that we like to look at here is the capability to change the look, the field, the information that we're showing. So maybe I want to show this particular guy like this, or I want to maybe just look at scope and detail like this. So here's all my notes, those types of things. So you have the capability to look and view this information in as many ways as you want. Now, for those of you that are working with our accounting system, but not working with our, let me go over here and do something real quick. And we'll go to productivity view, scope view here. And now we'll do that. So when we go up here to the job cost here, we're going to be able to see the information broken out in job cost format. So we can see that detail, that information, the way that you want to see it. So with that being said, we're going to have that capability. I'm going to do one other thing here. I just want to get down here and scoop over here. And now we'll go back over there. There we go. So with that being said, now if downstream from this, your accounting system, you want to be able to see this in a budget format, broken out in a job cost code structure, easily done. We want to make that easy for you and just click a button. We can update that budget in the accounting system. The other thing that you may be interested in is the way that we break out the details. When we collapse all of this information, you'll notice floor 1, floor and Prez. Well, I shortened that up, remember? Sprinkler head 2, sprinkler and Prez, wall framing, so on and so forth. So we see that detail broken out in the way that we want to see it, just with a click of a button, or you may want to look at it in multiple different ways. We have the capability to do that, make it easy for you. So since we're in the estimating, I'll do one thing and show you how an assembly can generate multiple things, because not everything is going to be Takeoff from digital, right? So we need the capability to enter maybe general requirements or other details, maybe focused on labor, those types of things. So with that being said, we can say the months that we're going to be working on the job, how many are we going to need temporary heat, so on and so forth. Based upon that, we can generate that to the estimate. Very cool. So that is an assembly that we can work with over here as well. You can do quick takeoff over here and continue to add to that estimate. So last but not least, we'll look at one other thing in here is remember when I made the change to those particular takeoffs right there? I've got that note that gives me an update on there. So in review mode, that's very nice. Right click, I can say review this assembly. I can say, let's look at the view pass audit. There's the original. Remember, it was 6,000. We changed to 4. All of that flowing from the digital takeoff solution. Pretty powerful stuff. Fully integrated, bi-directional. What I mean by that is we're going to give you the capability to move back to the digital takeoff. So you get in review mode and you're working with the chief estimator, the group of you guys and guys and gals in the estimating department, and we want to review this detail, this information. You'll notice this little ticker symbol right here. Well, what we know is that comes from outside the system. So I can very quickly right click and head back to exactly where that is on the plans. And it'll bring up the bridge for me as well. So when you're looking at full integration, some systems don't have integration between the digital takeoff and the estimating, which when you get into a review mode and you want to see that on the plans, maybe, if there isn't that connection, we have to wonder where it came from sometimes. So with that being said, we have that connection that makes it easy for you. Now let's take it to another level. We're going to go into takeoff here, and I'm going to go into model takeoff. And model takeoff gives you the capability of doing a conceptual parametric type of takeoff where I've got very little information. And back in the day, you know, it used to be a kind of a one of the things I would kind of joke with people about. Here comes that bar napkin or that sketch on some ratty piece of paper, and they're looking for, hey, could you give me an estimate on that? And as more and more as I've been doing this for 20 years, but as I got into this more and more, I found out, oh boy, that is true. That happens more often than not. And they're always saying, hey, you know, if you could give me an idea of what it would cost, here's the footprint, all this good stuff. I want it 5 stories high. And I won't hold you to the number. Well, you know as well as I do that they will hold us to the number. So with that being said, we've got to be as accurate as possible. So models gives us the capability based upon your assumptions and based upon your historic pricing that you have within the system. We can definitely go through and answer some questions here. I'm not going to answer any of these, but you can line up 8 to 10, 15 questions, whatever it may be. And based upon those answers that you plug in, now we go back to the estimate and we can generate that. Now you'll see here, when you think about assemblies are multiple items working together. Well, models is multiple assemblies and items working together to generate a complete estimate. Now, for those of you that may be working in the world of means, means has a different way of course, you know, their items and their naming conventions are a little bit different, but that's what we're working with here. If you go in and you say, well, I need to make a change because the individual that I'm working with wants to do this in Jasper, Alabama. Well, with the click of a button, boom, we can change all of the pricing to their, well, what means gives you as far as pricing is concerned with the click of a button. Boom, change it right over to Jasper. Over 700 cities across the US and Canada. Means does a lot of the research for you on that. The other thing that we look at here is, of course, looking at the total page and breaking it down. Now, we have the most robust solution out there when it comes to markups. We can do a markup on a markup, and we can allocate that detail to the estimate page as well. So if I wanted to go back in the background here and I wanted to see this broken down, throwing some pink colors at you right there. Now what we can do is we can see the grand total amount, which I should move over here. Here's the total, here's the add-on amount, and here's the grand total. If we got rid of every one of these, yeah, I'll say, okay, boom. And now you'll notice all of the markups are gone. We want to give you the capability to feed that into the estimate. There's lots of functionality we can do here. I'm just covering just some of them. One other thing is if it's 34 million, you're in negotiation, you say, if we get this down to 30 million, create a variance of about 4 million. That's ugly negotiation. That's taking a little bit too far. But In this case right here, we can spread that variance wherever you want within the estimate. So pretty powerful stuff, giving you the capability to do that. Last but not least, when we get into reporting, we have probably one of the most robust, flexible reporting tools that come with the system. Hey, if we don't cover it for you, we've got the capability to really do any report. But when we look at this, maybe I want to do a variance report, comparison. I'll just generate this guy and preview them because we want to look at it side by side. Say you have an old estimate, project died, new estimate updated with the new pricing, which we can do with the click of a button, by the way. Now we can compare side by side and show the customer, well, this may be a little bit too much detail for that customer. Let's go into report options and say, let's give it a little bit higher information there. So now we can say, well, this is where the differences are between those two estimates, the one from a year ago and the one now. Pretty powerful stuff. Got a lot of capabilities within the reporting and the flexibility with the estimating. One more, if of course you're buying your materials out, we can of course create a bill of materials, quote sheet, so on and so forth. And by the way, if you aren't aware of this, we do have a new buyout solution that has just hit the streets not too long ago, giving you the capability to send out requests for quotes, do detailed comparison analysis of your subcontractors, suppliers, and vendors. So if you're interested in that, do let us know. Let Will know anyway, and he can work with you on that. So last but not least, when we get into doing the BIM world, now it's kind of one of those things where we're, like I said, I've been working with Sage for about 20 years. We used to be Timberline back in the day, but with that being said, this conversation used to come up more and more and more outside of, just architects. We want to be able to do estimating based upon the objects, the attributes that make up those objects. So with that being said, well, the creators of eTakeoff, who we're deeply partnered with, said, well, let's make that happen. So just to kind of define what we're looking at here and going over here, I'm going to just hit this guy. And you guys out there probably know more about the world of BIM than I do, probably. But when we look at this object is, of course, made up of all of these attributes. And these attributes is just great information for us to work off of and build estimates. So I'll get rid of that. Nice looking building right there. Well, if we jump over here in Navisworks, and by the way, we not only integrate with Navisworks, but we integrate with Assemble, probably one of the two top tools out there. But in this case right here, we've got the capability to bring up the bridge. Now, since we use this in 2D, now we can use it in 3D. I'm not going to go through all of the details of it, but really the automation of what you're seeing here is it's going to go out and find all of those takeoffs right there. Everything that we've mapped, and by the way, mapping is really easy these days. We've got the capability to see every one of those walls. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit the hide assign, and I'm going to generate this to an estimate. So you'll notice in the background there, things are disappearing as we go through, as you'd imagine. So if you're taking off every element, everything that's involved with this particular job or project or model, whatever it may be, well, we've got the capability to do that. There you go. So when you're to the ground level, you pretty much had everything that you need to take off done. Well, it goes further than that, as you'd expect, because when we look at the review mode over here, it's going to show us everything that we've taken off. Well, of course, that's the first iteration, 25% done, 50% complete, so on and so forth. So we start looking at the progressive estimation. Now, what we could do is we could create another bridge, not another bridge, but another estimate, and then compare the two side by side if we want to, using the comparison analysis I showed you. But in this case, we'll just go ahead and say compare, and we'll go find the right file right here. Now what it's going to do is it's going to go through, as you would expect, and compare all of those things, it's already taken off with the new things in the walls right here. So if I go into hide assigned, everything that's been taken off is gone. You'll notice over here it's grayed out, but then there's some new things in here as well. Well, what it's doing is doing that comparative analysis for us. And then when we bring up the bridge, we hit the refresh button and you're going to notice there's some different things in here. Well, looks like we lost a wall, made some changes to some walls, so on and so forth. Well, I could review those if I wanted to, but I'll just click a button. And again, and here's where Navis, I'll just be brief. Let's say Navis, and I'll say okay. It's updating the estimate. Now, if we jump over into the estimating world here, and we've got that, we'll of course do the combination right there. We're good to go. So we've gone through the process of sending all of that over, making those changes. If I went into my assembly mode, we could again see those changes made in Navisworks, collapse all of those, and then go through and see those in there. The other thing is I didn't get into this, but we can actually use the location functionality as well. I didn't get into changing those. I know we're kind of running short on time. Well, we had an hour, but I hate to take up the full hour on this. But when we look at that, we have the capability to name those particular objects and have that flow downstream as a way to sort that information, that detail. So throwing a lot at you, and I wanted to just cover things at a high level. There's a lot more functionality, capabilities that we can take advantage of within the system. But with that being said, I'll go ahead and throw this back over to Will and let him finish this off. If there's any questions that we can answer for everyone, let us know. Will?
Thanks, Darren. That was a great presentation. Looks like we've got a good majority of the questions that came in answered through the chat. And if we have any lingering questions, we can definitely take those offline. And feel free to reach out to myself. My information's up on the screen and in front of you. Feel free to reach me directly at my phone number there, or send me a quick email if you have any further questions. And thank you again for joining us all today. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks again, Darren.
Have a great day, everyone.